Hi, this is Dan Bullard, retired electronics engineer, sitting out the front deck of my houseboat again. It's friggin' cold. I mean, the deck is icy. I got my heater going. New shirt, new jacket, and a hat. I thought you would appreciate this. I'll take it off in a minute. This is the hat we used to promote the Lightning, the mixed signal tester from Next Test. And it says a lot about a guy who can wear a hat that says Lightning on it, right? I mean, just imagine, you know, it's like you're tempting fate. Hey, Lightning, come down and get me, blow my head off. Lee Trevino, I mentioned this in a MEMS video when I was doing the MEMS work for Semicon 2006, MEMS accelerometer and MEMS gyroscope in a golf club. I had to look up all this golf stuff. Lee Trevino, who had been struck by lightning on a golf course, his famous statement is that if you find yourself on a golf course and you think there's a lightning storm about to strike, hold up a 1-iron, because even God can't hit a 1-iron. That was great stuff. Okay, so to go back here, Tony is back. Dean A. Tony Stewart. He's telling me again I got no right to claim anything about Bullard laws of anything because the quadratic nature of transistors is what accounts for the humping pattern or some kind of pattern. I don't know. When I was working for Applicos and I did that video for Applicos and I got challenged by Bruce Tibbetts. He claimed that I didn't know what I was talking about. So I had to go in and figure this stuff out. One thing I found was that if you clip a sine wave off at the top or bottom, the more you clip off, the more humps you get. And so I started to equate that with, you know, the area of the clipping related directly to the number of humps. I had a bright idea. I couldn't prove it, and so I actually wrote a manuscript, my manuscript for distortion. I wrote the book. One thing I did was I decided that if I'm going to claim that the area, the increase in area causes the number of humps to change, I better have a good idea what's going on. Well, it turns out if you clip the top of a sine wave at various levels, you get a different amount of humps, but you also get a higher amplitude in the harmonics. So there were two things being varied at the same time. That's never a good thing. And I've been in tests. I mean, I lived in tests for 30 years. So in tests, you have to prove things beyond a reasonable doubt, far beyond a reasonable doubt. And so what I was doing was I decided, okay, let me go in and just put glitches at those points where that distortion happened, and boom, I got the same number of humps, exactly the same number of humps in a particular spectrum. Now, if you try to do this on a spectrum analyzer, good luck with that. It'll be a disaster. So use something else. Use an Applicos or an Audio Precision or a Teradyne or a Next Test or LTX or Credence. Use something that can do coherent sampling. And if you can't do that, try Excel or try MATLAB or try something like that. And you'll find out that the FFT really reports the right data. It really tells you what's going on. Tony, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. I don't mean to, you know, to that guy who made that video about that, I don't mean to call you an idiot just because, but, you know, Tony said that I should try to use peer review. Well, I've tried that. I've used LinkedIn. I've used every website on the web that has anything to do with harmonics or electronics or anything, and they keep calling me names and kicking me off. And even Tony says, oh, you with your slanty eyes, you know, you're some kind of fucking freak. My mother had slanty eyes. And I went and did a 23andMe thing, and I have an ancestor way back of Mongolian ancestry. the Mongol hordes and stuff. It was probably one of those guys. So I got squinty eyes because that's what my DNA says. I've got a granddaughter with squinty eyes, and you know, it's in the DNA. So, you know, go ahead and criticize my DNA. Go ahead. You know, go ahead, Tony. Tell me that my DNA is faulty, and I'll tell you you're a fucking idiot. So, you know, like I said, I've been kicked off of every. I mean, these people don't want to have a discussion. You know, you ask somebody of the harmonics of the distorted sine wave, they don't want to talk about it. They kicked me off for 7 days. So there, in the background, there was some guy commenting on my claims, and I couldn't comment back because I'd been kicked off for like 7 days. So I'm not going to go back there and like do a like delayed gratification kind of thing. You know, you kicked me off your site. Fuck you. I want nothing to do with you. You know, free speech means I get to say what I want, and you get to say what you want, and other people can decide who's right and who's wrong. Look at Darwin and Wallace. Darwin, you know, I hold Darwin in very high esteem, but he's a scumbag in one way. He got this letter from Wallace that explained his thing, evolution, perfectly. And he also got he was working on his own book. So he decided at the Royal Society, he better put a stop to this Wallace stuff. So he decided to read, because Wallace asked him to read his paper at the Royal Society. And so he did that. He did that at the end of the meeting. After he opened the meeting with his own paper that he wrote, that he took from his book, Origin of Species. So at the opening of the meeting, he talked about his ideas on evolution, and at the end of the meeting, when everybody pretty much had enough, he read Wallace's thing. So Darwin was a scumbag, and I made sure that's not going to happen to me. I've had things stolen from me, if you watch some of my other videos, so I'm not going to let that happen again. That's why I have 2 books that are copyrighted, and Distortion and More on Harmonics for Morons. And because harmonics is pretty much just a replication of distortion, you really can't copy anything out of harmonics without infringing on distortion. You really can't. So I'm protected. My books are, I mean, I went through LegalZoom, I think, LegalZoom to get copyrights. So I have books in the Library of Congress. Now, you know, they can come along and pull those out and throw them away and say, oh, this Bullard guy never existed. But I beg to differ. Anyway, I hope it's beautiful back there. I can sort of see. But do your experiments. I'm done doing experiments. My PC's gone, and so, you know, you're just going to have to carry on without me. But in the meantime, it's Dan Bullard from the river. See you later.